Hey, my name is Matija, and I operate Canada Cannabis Consulting. We've worked with multiple licensed producers since 2013 in the Canadian cannabis market, Bedrocan CanTrust, doing project management, marketing. I've ranked both of those licensed producers nationally in Google. And today we're going to talk about search ranking in Google for 2017, as well as the cannabis space and how this is relevant. This video is a summary of a presentation I gave not that long ago with Women Grow. Women Grow is celebrating diversity in the cannabis space. It's cultivating cannabis leaders. Here's some of their information if you want to check it out, womengrow.com, Women Grow TO for the Toronto chapter. So let's get right down to it. What we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about search engine optimization and why we care. We're going to talk about how to make your website attractive to Google search and to customers. All the while, we're going to be referencing the cannabis industry. We're going to talk about Google's newest trends in Google search algorithm, which is RankBrain. And we're going to talk a bit about being informed with Google and what you want to know if you're looking for search engine optimization providers. At the very end, I'm going to cover some questions that I had at my presentation and what's next. So like once you learn this, what's the next step for someone who owns a website? What should you do? So, search engine optimization is a ranking method. The point is to outperform your competitors. The deliverable is traffic to your website. If you do a good job, it's going to be qualified traffic. That is a warm lead and might actually buy something from you. In order for that to happen, for SEO to drive sales, it needs to be aligned with your branding, your vision, your value proposition. Seems pretty obvious, right? But like I've worked with a large cannabis company. I'm talking a company that has, 50 to 100 employees, more than that. It's got patient outreach program, it's got a doctor outreach program, business development, marketing. When I got access to their website, to their Google Analytics, we found that 9 out of 10 people that went on the website would leave within like 3-4 seconds. So it's like, you're investing money in business development, in patient acquisition, in customer support, and yet your main digital asset is divided in a week, right? It's not working with you. It's counter the rest of your business. So this stuff seems pretty obvious, right? But it's like, in order for you to perform, in order for you to be competitive in the digital space, you need to be tracking your digital assets properly and aligning them with the rest of your brand. Good segue into why we care. Why do we care about this presentation? Well, first of all, we want to be aligned with our digital assets and the rest of our company, so we can learn a little bit about how we're going to do that in this video. Particularly today, we're talking about what we need to know for our website, what we need to know to be relevant to Google and to humans. And how that pertains to the cannabis industry and search engine optimization. So, search engine optimization is not a regulated industry, so if you want to stay informed, you need to know a little bit so you can ask the right questions and identify quality vendors and know what your challenge is and know what the solution is. The Cannabis Act here in Canada, Bill C-45, is going to present a lot of challenges for people in the industry to do branding and advertising. But in terms of Google, like Google's search algorithm is not going to change. And we as consumers will still have a right to Google search things and find what we want, whether that's the best purple kush in Toronto or the best licensed producer in Canada, or which licensed producer has inventory and available, right, non-opioid based alternatives to pain management, right? All these types of Google searches are still going to be available to us. This isn't China, this isn't North Korea. There's no current examples of cases where Canadian law is altering the way Google searches work. Not an organic search, right? I should preface and say, yes, we can't do paid ads in the cannabis space. We can't use AdWords. We can't use sponsored ads. And that's a really clear restriction. But organic search is a different matter. If we're looking for something, we should be able to find it in organic search. That's not going to change. As a matter of fact, I believe that the Cannabis Act is going to open up opportunities. As more investors come into the recreational market and more investors come in the space altogether, what you'll find is more and more people will be trying to compete for the same precious Google results for relevant traffic, for, again, the best purple kush, the best licensed producer. All this sort of stuff is going to become important. So we need to know how to make our websites attractive so that we can leverage Google in the upcoming and very competitive space that this is going to become and already is. How do we do that? Well, your website needs to provide a conclusive online solution. What that means in a nutshell is your website good enough that if I go to it, I stop searching for other stuff? Right? If I'm looking for the best purple kush in Toronto, I should be good enough that Google knows I provide the best purple kush in Toronto based on my reviews, based on the content of my website, my product. If I can be the best, if I can provide a conclusive solution, Google's going to thank me and they're going to help rank me. Wendy Pearsall says it well. She's a marketeer and she has some affiliations with Google. You can look her up. She's all over the net. She says, Google only loves you when everyone else loves you first. And that's well said. Another way to put that is, if you can be the site, you can beat the brands, right? So how do you do that? Well, there's 3 key points, and we're going to break them down. You need to be attractive to Google. You need to be attractive to people. And those things are not mutually exclusive. Some people just write for Google. And if you're doing that, you're not going to be attracting people. People are not going to click on your website. You're going to be like that cannabis company that has 9 out of 10 people leave their website. And that's going to make you divided, right? It's going to make you weak, not competitive. The other way is to monitor your website performance, that you know what's going on your website. And we're going to talk about these first 2, being attractive to Google and people, and then we'll talk about the third thing. So here you go, right? You want to be attractive to people. Just like these awesome chicklets are attracted to this bunny, and just like we think they're so cute and just want to hug them, we're, drawn into them. So we need to draw people in. Let's look at some examples of how we do that. So really, you want to write for the audience and you want to write for the brand to establish thought leadership and to establish yourself as standing out. And you don't want to write for keywords, okay? And Google will thank you, and so will people. So you can imagine an online vape shop, a vaporizer shop might have something like the title. By the way, when we look at Google, can you see my mouse? What we're talking about now is in Google searches, the title of the website. Like when you type in something, buying vapes online, you'll get a result that shows you on page 1 or any page of Google, the title, usually in blue, the website, and then in black, you got about a sentence and a half of text. And this is what you decide, this is the information you use to decide whether you want to click on something in Google. So it's pretty bloody important. So imagine the title of this website you're looking for online vaporizers is online vaporizers, nicotine vapes, vaporizer smoking, custom vapes. And the description, art of vaping. Vapes include electronic vapes, handcrafted vapes, and unique vaporizers, right? I mean, I'm just making this up, but you get the idea. This is not very good. It's not compelling. All we're doing here is hoping that Google's going to pick up on a bunch of these keywords, electronic pipes, handcrafted pipes, nicotine vapes, vaporizers, and rank us for them. But it's not compelling content. Instead, you might want to consider something like the art of vaping. Maybe that's the brand name, right? We're just making this up. Maybe it exists, but I don't know. We're just making it up. The art of vaping. Stunning portable vapes for every price range. Description. That's the one in black, the text. Our collection of vapes is not the largest, but the hand-picked best. You'll find unique vaporizers always in stock with free fast shipping. Right here you're covering lots of different marks. You're establishing brand identity. It's kind of elite, yet it's for all price points, including expensive price points. They're hand-picked vapes. They're always in stock, and they're free shipping. So it's like, this is way more attractive. And you can imagine all we're talking about now is the main title and the meta description that you see in Google, but this could easily apply to your homepage. It could apply to your products page, your sub-products pages, so all those lovely pages about your products, your About Us, your blog, if you have that information. Right? You want to be writing to captivate an audience. It's super important. In addition to writing to captivate an audience, you want to keep in mind the fact that you're dealing with demographics and personas. So even if you have one target market, let's say women between the ages of 30 and 40, right? You'll still have a ton of different personalities within that market, right? And what you want to do is figure them out and market to all of them, or all the ones that at least will produce a return on investment. So for example, you might have women who are only interested in non-opioid based pain treatment in the cannabis industry, right? They care that you have inventory and that your product has a terpene profile that can help them. That's it. You might have someone who's averse to risk, and so they want to know a bit about your regulatory. They want to know that you've passed Health Canada inspections always. They want to know that you irradiate your products so that there's no mold and that there's no issues with it. You might have someone who's only interested in price point. You might have someone who's only interested in the recreational market, right? All of these things come into play. And so what we do is we make basically user case studies. We can do market research properly too. We can bring in actual patients or potential patients, right? We can do focus groups and talk to them and derive this content from direct primary research as well. But you got to be doing some form of demographic research to figure this stuff out, right? So identify and engage emotionally, and you want to be producing brand and website copy that supports your target personalities. your target audience personalities, right? That's super important. Because you've got multiple demographics, and you've got multiple demographics for multiple products, right? You might have a bunch of different products that are all targeting different demographics and different personalities. It can become pretty iterated. It can become pretty complicated, right? You might have not just women, but old men and young people and people who are sick and veterans, and it's like different products will appeal to different people, different packages, right? Veteran discount packages, patient assistance programs. All these things appeal to different personalities, so you need to figure out how to leverage and market them in a coherent narrative that works with your brand and works with your website, right? So be the site and you can beat the brands. What we're talking about so far is understanding your audience, understanding that they have multiple personalities, even if it's one demographic, let alone if it's multiple demographics for multiple products. And then writing your content in a manner that's attractive to them and attractive to Google. And we've looked at an example of how that's done to be attractive to Google in the prior slide, 2 slides ago. So be the site, you can beat the brands. Monitor your website performance. Google RankBrain is watching, right? So you got to be responsible. You got to be managing your website. Don't be like the cannabis company I worked with that didn't even know that 9 out of 10 people just leave their website, right? Like, you need to redo your website if that's the case. RankBrain is like Wonder Woman, but a computer. RankBrain is super intuitive, super intelligent. It can see all. RankBrain is a 2016 Google update, and it's an update that favors websites that fundamentally end the online sales cycle quickly. So you can imagine if you're the site, if I'm looking for the best purple kush in Toronto, Google will judge and find out who the best provider of purple kush is in Toronto and put them at the top of the searches. So you can imagine you're doing Google a favor, right? If your website provides conclusive action and ends the sales cycle quickly, then you're making Google searches more efficient, because I don't have to leave your website and go to like 5 other searches and keep looking for my product. I can end my search query and move on with the rest of my day. Maybe I want to buy more things or go work out or play music or something, right? So Google is keeping track of how good your website is at bringing in people, which would be like click-through rate, how often people actually click on it, how long they stay on your website. Is your website easy to use? Is it readable? Does it render well on mobile? Does it end the online sales cycle quickly? Google's tracking all of this stuff, right? There's also a positive bias towards transactional or e-commerce websites. So you can imagine like 5-10 years ago, if you look up, let's use a different example, the best tobacco pipes, you'll find, and you'll still find, article-based results, right? Like a review site comparison, the best pipes come from Germany, they're made from rosewood, stuff like that. But more and more, Google's determining who actually is the best provider of pipes. And in addition to article and informational websites, transactional websites, right, websites that make money and that sell stuff, are also going to be appearing in Google search results. So if your website is strong with content and relevant and easy to use and has e-commerce functions, chances are it'll rank, right? That's the best thing you can do to set things up so that you can rank, because Google is having a positive bias towards transactional-based websites, whereas 10 years ago it would have been, especially for searches like, what's the best type of pipe, you'll find more informational websites like Wikipedia. Now you'll still find websites that are informational, but you'll also find e-commerce websites. Okay, so another way to explain that would be like this, right? Like, be the site and you can beat the brands. Google brings in traffic, right? And so does your social media platform. I know there's lots of restrictions for licensed producers, and we're not getting into that discussion right now. It's a complex one. But still, you can leverage your social media platforms as well as Google to bring in traffic. Both you, the owner of a business and website, as well as Google, are watching all of this. They're watching your user metrics. Do people come to your website and leave right away? Do 9 out of 10 people leave? Do most people stay? Do most people stay and buy something? So you should be monitoring this, and Google certainly does. RankBrain is certainly watching this. And so users they come to your awesome website, which is fast and relevant and has relevant content, right? It's got like relevant information. It's got a checkout section. And all of this is playing together, right? So this is just a slide that summarizes in a visual way what we've been talking about so far. We're not going to talk much about backlinks and content today, but suffice that's the stuff in green, the social share, but we'll mention it briefly. Basically, if you're bringing in traffic and the traffic is relevant and staying on your website because you have an awesome website with good content, you're going to start seeing social sharing, ratings and reviews, and topical referrals. Topical referrals are like, when 420 Times or Lyft or, stuff like this, when they write you up, right? And they say, hey, these guys are like the industry leader in vapes. They're doing such a good job. You should check them out, right? Those are all bonus points, and those things come from being relevant to the user and writing in a relevant and informed manner and having a website with all the different attributes we've been discussing so far. You should be monitoring this so that you know, right? Do people stay on your website? Google is certainly monitoring this and knows. So may as well know as much as they do. So if you're considering SEO, what are some of the things you want to keep an eye out for? Well, only fast websites rank in Google. I've had so many people come to me and say, hey, Matija, can you rank my website on page 1 of Google? And I mean, you take a look, you run some information, right? And you see that their website loads in like 7 seconds. It's like, good luck. Good luck. Websites need to be loading in 3 seconds or under. Really, it should be 2. Mobile, who waits more than a few seconds for a website to load? They're going to leave your website, right? So keep your websites fast. And we'll talk more about this in a couple of slides. If you're using WordPress or open source material, keep your plugins and your open source websites up to date. Otherwise, you invite viruses. Google obviously hates viruses and will demote your ranking. SEO must withstand a manual review. So we haven't talked much about the creation of backlinks. We're not going to. But let's see if I can explain this without going into too much detail there. So with SEO, you're essentially creating content on your website. You're creating lots of information. And if you're doing spammy stuff, like creating porn links and creating automated links, right? Maybe someone comes to me and I'm like, perfect, I can like take their money and I can just automate a bunch of scripts and robots to do SEO for me. I don't actually have to do anything. I can make a bunch of money not doing anything. It's no good, right? Google will figure it out, and Google has a manual review department, right? So they'll get an alert that something kind of spammy and cheesy is going on because I'm doing a half-assed job. It'll be escalated to manual review department, and someone's going to look at what your website has in terms of SEO. And if it looks spammy, if it can't withstand a manual review, you're going to get punished. You're going to get at least a warning, but you could also lose your ranking. So SEO has to withstand manual reviews. So if you're looking for SEO providers, ask them to show you some work, and it should be pretty legitimate work. What's Nest? What is Nest? My. Can you tell I did this slide just now? So what's next for my site, right? So, I mean, you've learned a little bit about what we're doing for SEO and all this. So I've got a few questions, right? Do you track your analytics? Do you know how many people stay on your website? Well, if you don't, install and set up Google Analytics and start benchmarking. See what your website looks like today. Maybe it's doing really well. Maybe it's doing really poorly. At least you can build a business case about should you improve your website and how you can improve your website. Maybe you need to redo your whole website before you consider SEO, right? It'll be pretty useful to know that before talking to people who are going to sell these services to you. Does your website load fast or slow? You can go to a site like GTmetrix for free. Just type in your domain and it'll pull up a random server. I think they're out of Vancouver now. And it'll show you how fast your website loads. Just do it a couple of times. Do it 3 or 4 times because there's a few variables involved. You want to do it a few times. Do you know what keywords to rank for? Do you know what keywords you're currently ranking for, right? So 2 different things. Do you know what keywords you want to rank for? That involves keyword research. Not in scope for this video, but you could look at some resources like Market Samurai and Google AdWords Keyword Planner to learn a little bit more about keywords, and I'll make a video about that too. Do you know what keywords you currently rank for, right? If you're approaching someone to do SEO and don't know where you rank for, that's not useful. Maybe you already rank on page 1 for like half the keywords that you want to rank for, or page 2. It's like, that's less work. And if it's less work, it should be communicated to you. Compare your website to the best global and local competitors. Often people come even for local businesses or national businesses, and they come to me with some ideas about redoing a website. And they've got very particular ideas, and yet they haven't done their homework. It's like, why limit yourself to local or national search results? You've got companies all over the world, in New York and London, much larger cities, much larger population densities, with more competition, who are doing similar things. You should be looking at their websites as well and see what information from there you can use and appropriate for your business and your brand, and maybe it gives you some ideas. Summary. So Google Rank Brain is one of the primary factors for Google search for 2017. And so what you want to do to appease it so you can, begin the foundations you need to rank on page one of Google, well, you need to be attractive to customers and attractive to Google. So you have to be aligning with your brand and writing in a manner that establishes thought leadership and attracts people to you. You want to monitor your website analytics because you want to know how relevant you are and how many click-throughs you're getting, how many people are actually clicking on you once they see your information on Google. You want to promote genuinely attractive brand content, and you want a website that's big, has relevant content, it's good looking, it's sexy, it's fast, and it has an e-commerce function, ideally. If you can do that, you're one step towards this. So in my speech, we had a pretty interesting question and answer period. I wanted to just condense and summarize some of those question and answers. How do I know if an SEO provider is blowing smoke up my butt? The short answer there is, you got to be telling the truth. The truth is what works, right? You only expand your domain of competence if you're telling the truth, and when you encounter obstacles, you work through them so that you don't encounter them the next time, right? You use that information to protect yourself and to grow your domain of competence. And you can only do that if you're telling the truth, right? That's a bit of a rant, but that's okay. Oh my God, spelling mistakes. Hey, English isn't my first language. How do I know if a provider is blowing smoke up my butt? If someone tells you they can rank you for any keyword you want, they're blowing smoke up your butt. You should test your providers, right? Maybe you're a cannabis company, you say, I want to rank for the word cannabis. Can you rank me for the word cannabis? Well, I mean, if it was me, I'd say, well, probably not, and I don't think you have any ROI in doing that anyways, because it's very broad and it's highly competitive. You could use that same budget to rank for that one keyword to rank for 5 more relevant keywords, right? So that's the truth, right? And if a client left because I said that, so be it. That's how it is. We mentioned earlier that that SEO needs to withstand manual reviews. So you want to be showing your past work, right? Some case studies, some past work to show clients that what you're doing is manual and legit, right? SEO is not standardized, so don't trust people on their word. Trust them on their merit. What happens in 2018 with the Cannabis Act and digital marketing? So, 2 ways to answer that question. One is, in terms of organic search, I don't see that going away. I see no case examples of laws passing and restricting the way that Google algorithms function. Unless you're in North Korea, maybe China. I don't see it happening here. So in terms of organic search, which is what we're talking about, right? In terms of organic search, we're going to see an increase in value. We're going to see more competition in the space. In terms of promoting brands, in terms of all that stuff, it's unknown. Look, the Cannabis Act on the federal level says you may advertise to people over the age of 18, right? But the thing with may is that the provincial level can interpret that however they want. Quebec, for example, beautiful Quebec, I love the place. The province might say, no, you know what? We don't want any advertisement to over 18. We want no advertisement at all, right? So the provincial level can interpret the federal level when it says may advertise as they see fit. So it's a huge variable, right? Those are dynamic things that we don't really know what's going to happen with that space. Again, which is why at least organic search is very useful. And at least we have another year and a bit to really move forward with brand diversification and acquiring market share. How do we fix our sites if our SEO provider does sketchy stuff and Google penalizes us? Well, you have a bridge, a communication platform between your website and Google, which is your Google Search Console or Google Webmaster. And in there you get notifications. If sketchy, weird links are coming up, Google will tell you. They'll be like, hey, there's some weird porn links coming up on your website. Maybe they penalize you, maybe they warn you. What you can do is you can disavow, right? You can be like, I didn't know. I don't know anything about SEO. This person I paid to do it, I had no idea what they were doing. I'll remove all these links from my website. I'll never do it again, I promise. Please reinstate my ranking. And Google typically does reinstate your ranking, right? So you have options to work with Google. Google's reasonable. The more interesting question comes with, what's stopping me as someone who does SEO from doing negative SEO on my client's competitors, right? So what's stopping me from going to one of my client's competitors and just making a bunch of spammy porn links and doing a bunch of shady stuff? Google doesn't know if it's someone doing SEO for the company or someone trying to ruin their ranking. right? That's negative SEO, and that's going to represent probably a bit of a larger issue in the year to come, especially with the increase in competition for the space. And the answer there is like you need a professional who does search engine marketing to really be the security guard of your digital marketing facility, your asset, and monitor it and see what's going on. Like there are ways to monitor your linking and what's happening in Google. So, someone doing that in a professional manner can help diminish the risks for that. So that's really all I wanted to go through. Thank you, Woman Growth. Thank you, everybody who watched. More videos to come soon. If you'd like to contact me, you can just check me out on Canada, cannabisconsulting.ca. Thank you very much. Have a great day.